Sign reads, "You've done well."
What a strange place you have brought me to. Okay. Eyes up here.
Yeah, okay.
Freaking Zig.
So, this is it, huh? What was the point of it all? I got some thinking to do, Red. Or whoever you really are.
Same. Someone help me make sense of all this.
I didn't know I was an immortal, but knowing that there is more... Sorry, it really makes me feel invigorated. No one gives two shits for Bella. Fuck you, you come out. Bella Lugosi. I wonder where we'll all appear now.
Short and sweet.
Hey, 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 hey.
Oh my god.
Blub. What a strange place. Sometimes it gets real quiet. When it gets real quiet, I hear a voice. Can't decide if it's nice or not sometimes. Damn, we killed the fish and fish showed up.
Happily.
Brown?
I feel so stupid. I thought we were already in the afterlife. But I'm happy there is another journey coming. I'm a bit sad that I've become quite accustomed to my body. But I have existed for eons. Maybe some change is good. It must have been hard for you to kill everyone. But I'm glad you took the role of Reaper.
Well, you might be in the mandala system, in which case you're going to be repeating that, so, you know, an ever journey of layers outward and outward and outward, with each cycle. How about you?
I can't believe there was another world after death. I thought everything would just stop and turn black for all eternity. Or maybe an eternity has already passed? I don't even know anymore. But I'm glad it seems. There is more to life than what I thought.
Across the other realm, I see. It'll be a pleasure showing you this world, Red. Unfortunately for you, human, you will not be joining us tonight. But don't worry, your time will come.
Damn.
Looking forward to it, Mushroom.
Damn.
Will you show me?
I have lost everything. The world doesn't exist. I am not really me anymore. All of these things I used to care about, they don't matter. In a strange way, I feel relieved.
Thank you again for freeing me. This world still has secrets left to uncover. That it does.
I bring you love.
And peace, love.
The freak is bringing us love. Kill him.
I bring you love.
Is that the edge?
This is the edge. You know, the afterlife is smaller than that one technodrome we walked into.
Yeah. Yeah, the scale is definitely bigger in the Technodrome.
What is happening to my ability to walk?
Are you forgetting? Are you... Did you spend all your walking?
Are you leading me? Can I only walk towards the center now? Have I walked too close? Are you serious? I just wanted to make sure I talked to everybody before I talked to Frog, who's an important character. So I wanted to walk around to make sure that there was no one on the fringes. Was I wrong to do that? No, we're free.
Oh my god.
We're free. We're free. We're free. We're free.
That was janky.
Let's just save it. In case anything bad happens. Thank you. All right.
What a ride.
What a ride.
I apologize for losing my temper.
Huh.
It was a lot to ask for, and, well, I don't know what to say. It is finally finished. Alright, Frog.
I notice I can't kill anymore.
Nope, we're done with that.
Yeah, let's get that one.
Different forms.
Anything past you? No. Nothing gets past you, Buddha. Hello, human. Are you ready to end the game? Sure. It's been a spectacle watching you. Let's say farewell. In a way that it deserves to end. Oh, just one more thing there, boss. If you could just answer why you knew the body was hung when no one mentioned it.
Oh, the whole crew is here.
Oh shit, yo. Rock Howard theme? Stolen from what's his name? No? Okay, alright. Like da-da-da, da-da-da. People, places. Alright. I think everybody's joining in for this one.
It's still tame up to now.
I mean, you know. Door has a soul. Door counts. Door is a character. What's up, Door?
They're all here.
Yeah. Inherit the Howard legacy, Rock. Embrace it. Okay. Yo, 8th encore.
I hope you found this experience interesting and enjoyable. Before we close the curtains, let's end this in proper fashion.
8th encore. Yo, remember when Jay-Z and Kanye played Niggas in Paris live?
Oh my god.
And they did, I think, 7 or 8, no, like, it was like 9 encores of it.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, this is fucking crazy. They're just playing it over and over again.
Yep.
And then it turned out they were just filming the music video, so they wanted as many takes as possible.
That's why they do that?
That's why they filmed it like 9. That's why the encores went like 9 times, because they were just shooting the music video.
Oh fuck!
But everyone thought it was like, oh my god, this song they can't get enough. They just want to do it this many times.
Oh my god!
Remember when that happened?
Okay, you have to understand, when they came to Montreal,
Yeah.
one of my friends found 2 tickets on the floor.
Wow.
And he sold it to me.
Wow.
So I went with some guy, and at the end, we're like in the top of the Bell Center or
Wow.
whatever. They're playing it. All right, encore. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And I'm like, do they hate us? I thought Jay-Z and Kanye hated us. That's why they were doing it over. I thought it was a social comment. Like, oh, you like that shit? Have it again. You like it? You want some more? Have it again.
They were shooting the
video.
They were shooting the video.
Oh my god. Oh, ha! What a ride. You can say that again, Tonby.
All right. We can go faster than focusing green.
Hey, you love that piano. We're always sort of annoying. Good time. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for helping me. Happy there is more to life. It makes me happy we will die. We shall venture beyond the horizon. What a trip of a lifetime. It has not been easy to see you suffer. Thanks for always helping me and being a good friend. It has been a privilege and an honor to have known you. That's been quite a journey. Well, now it's time to end it.
There it is. There's them cheeks.
Thank you for everything. What you did, I will never forget.
Here we are. At the end of the road.
Voice to men?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, there might be another end of the road after this one, though. Ooh. You'll make the guitar sing?
Yeah.
Make it weep? We've witnessed an eventful journey. Many words have been said. Some thoughts have been shared. I thought I read sharded for a second. I swear to God. My eyes double crossed, and I thought I read some ideas have been sharded. Before you leave, do you wish to hear the last absolute truth? Okay, but only if you promise it's the last one, because Columbo.
Yes.
No. Yeah, no. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. There are no absolute truths. You are free to wrap your half-truths into whatever. That is the true beauty of it.
Oh.
You can make the rest up. Well, I guess. Just don't lie to people if you can avoid it. But you can't know everything. You still have a long time left. And some after that. Take care of yourself. Yeah, don't make things up, though. Be careful about that part. If you don't know things, it's okay to say you don't know things. But making it up and pretending that you do know is probably bad. From a friend. A friend?
Uh-oh.
Come visit us again. Hey. We still didn't get to meet you. It never ends in Everhood. New Game Plus unlocked. Oh, just one more thing. Just one more thing.
Just one more.
No. I think we hit our credits there. Okay, so that, for all intents and purposes, for all intensive purposes, just make it up. Yeah, I feel like that's the standard like playthrough, right? Like you kill everybody and then resist, right? Go through the normal route. That seems like a normal game progression. and where you accept the direction it's pushing you, whereas the other directions require you to like fight against where it's pushing you. Yeah. Okay, that's what it feels like. Interesting. Well, we have other things to see. There's definitely the please write to us and tell us how the game made you feel. Our email is in the store page. Well, I guess I'll say it into a microphone. That sun battle pushed that warning to the limit.
Yeah.
That sun battle was insane. That is actual warning.
Face melting.
That is warning for flashing lights, for sure. Yeah, there's still the, I guess, the collecting the third gem and putting it into the cat statue. Right, so that should elicit us another ending. Excuse me. And then I believe beyond that, there are 2 New Game Plus based endings.
Oh, shit.
I'm not too sure about the New Game Plus because that seems like it would be a full replay. So, I don't know if we're going to go that road. I'm going to have to figure out what's up first. But I definitely would like to see what's going on with the cat statue based ending, because then at least it's like we know it's the light fight. The Lightman fight.
Yeah.
So we got to beat that. That's a big challenge.
Yeah.
That's a really big challenge.
We started with one of the toughest.
Yeah. And then we can see what that is. And then, no, we're not walking down the hallway because that's obnoxious and that's not
good.
Reasonable.
Good.
It's quite unreasonable. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well.
Oh, our files might be New Game Plus?
I would assume so. But if I go to continue, I should still see. Everything has been converted to New Game Plus. Interesting. Okay. Well, it seems like if I can continue from... Well, this is question mark, so we don't know what we're going to get here. This seems like the game would start over and then become its New Game Plus incarnate. I guess the simplest thing was to just like update all saves, but if we load from the Gate of Eternity, we should still be able to go fight Lightman. So I think that's okay as long as we have the ability to do that. And then, yes, you can just go straight to the battles, replay battles and custom battles, which are very exciting.
Oh, shit.
I'm very excited to see these. These are just like, right, let's get those battles going. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess what questions do you have? And I have questions and I have some thoughts.
I feel like the story started, right? And then like we're a piece of wood. You meet Blue. You meet a few people. You got the pig. You got Crane. You got everybody, and everybody's inside this world. And at a certain point during the last session, we saw Pink briefly in the real world.
Yeah.
But then nothing. And then at the end, it's like, Pink comes and invalidated what happened with Red. It was like, no, not Red. It's Pink, actually. And you're like, oh, okay. So like Pink is the more important one here. Pink is doing everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, this threw me for a loop. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. From that point on, I was like, what is happening with the story?
There's a couple things that come to mind, and I feel like, yeah, so especially towards the end of the last session, I was like starting to get hit with a couple of these things, and then I was like, well, we need to see what might happen in case there's a way to change or update what I'm perceiving here. But what I feel is, okay, the gameplay is fucking immaculate. It's so good. Right, so that goes without saying, and the music is firing on all cylinders, and that's fantastic. And like, especially like the art style is charming and fun, and it's doing its own like thing like, again, there is that Undertale homage-ish kind of energy to it, but
without looking at the story, just like the banter, it's really fun and interesting.
Fun.
Like, I mean, I loved Green and how we'd
Green gets put over more than the others. I'd say Green gets
even Vampire.
Yeah,
Zombie.
Green gets put over a bit more than the others, and is great for that purpose. I feel like some of the other characters, like there's things I don't want to just make the direct comparison, but there's definitely things where like you learn about. Because a lot of characters you kind of meet in like a Deltarune / Undertale situation are like they have one dynamic to them, and then you find out more about like their interpersonal relationships with each other, and the notes kind of help that a little bit. But you kind of flesh them out by having them like have relationships with each other, and you discover things about them that are not just what you see on the surface. And these characters tend to be pretty straightforward, like name changing, and that's his bit. Sneezing guy sneezing, and that's kind of his bit. But he does have that cool Sega system in his room, But it would be nice to have a little more interplay with that stuff. I think the moral of the story that I'm interpreting here, and again, everything I'm reading here might be super wrong, but I think the moral of the story is that death is not so bad, and in fact, death might even not be the end. Right? So the idea of fearing death is something that it's healthy to get acquainted with it and to not be afraid of it. And I think that's
an okay message.
What the message they're going for is. That in and of itself, based on my like time on this earth, I would say that's a positive message, and that has a real good use for people that are in a situation where they're struggling with that, and that can be a benefit. I think,
and them struggling with it themselves and seeing someone else struggle with it.
Absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely, and knowing people that have been through that, knowing people that have, been on both sides of a loved one feeling that way and they themselves feeling that way. The idea that you are holding on to everything and like can't let go is a torturous one.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing to get people in those situations to understand that letting go is okay. So that's my reading of it. And that's a good message.
Yeah.
The problem is that the emotional journey you take to get there, in my opinion, is hyper fucked up. And the reason why is because death is not something to be feared, and it's not always a bad thing. It is a message. But there's a louder, more important in my opinion, message that is a part of like the fabric of society in a way that is like there's an overall angle you assume in most situations that is killing someone against their will is bad and amoral.
I think everyone can get on board with that.
And you are given reasons that retroactively might become justified, but in the moment to put that on you and still be cryptic enough that you're going to reveal it later, but not fully embrace what the person who's doing that action might be feeling, and not fully like addressing those questions in a way, while still assuring them that what they're doing is right. You're not addressing it, but you're telling them, "Don't worry, it's for the right reasons. You'll find out later, but trust me, it'll be okay." But what you're doing by killing them and it's against their will, that is bad. And if someone
happen on their own term,
yes, and if someone is like in palliative care, is terminal, or in some sort of experience where like death is inevitable, and you are you are unwilling to confront that inevitability, that's where this message is helpful. But there's a difference between that and like enforcing it on someone else's behalf and they're going to decide for you, right? And I think the fact that we just played Silent Hill 2 is incredible in contrast, because you're dealing with the same concept, right? You're actually confronting the same issues, but the difference is that James in that game, like he's one, the person who's having the hard time also understands that they need to accept it, but is conflicted and asks James to do the unthinkable. And he understands in that context what is the weight of that and does it because it is the right thing to do. And then the guilt already is set in. And the journey you're on is one where the guilt is the problem. The guilt is the antagonist, but he already has done the thing and understands that, right? In this instance, it's not like that has occurred where this has happened through understandable circumstances and he's blaming himself. In this instance, you're being told that what you're about to do is fine when you know that it's not fine. And it's basically a game of putting the pillow over everyone's face, but they didn't ask you to do it. You understand? And that gets changed later when you go through the various gates. And of course, there's the Buddhist aspect of it where you're reincarnating. But the emotional journey you put the player on is one that is fucked up because they're confronting something that is highly immoral. And if you resist it, and this is the thing, by giving multiple endings, you have a chance to play with things. Video games are a fun medium that allow you to go in different directions. So if you resist it, you actually get a pathway there, and then you confront Frog, who ultimately says, you're better than me, but you're still wrong, fuck you, right? But you know what? I'm giving up. And then you're like, okay, you've resisted. But it ends, and then you resume your save file, and what happens is you get put back into the world, and that would be an excellent place to, for example, start to show you the problems of continuing onward into this immortality, because immortality is the reason that's given as to why they're wrong for wanting to continue being alive, right? There's a reference to the fact that they start to lose their minds, and
time is relative and everything,
and they suffer. And then you see, like, Green even mentions, I pulled my eye out on all these things, right? But these things happening ultimately still don't take away the agency of the people that are the victims in the situation. And if they are still people that are like, I want to live, right? I do not feel that you get to step in and say, I know better than you, I'm going to take your life away. I think that's the moment you come in and you claim to be the authority that gets to decide who lives and who dies. Even in a circumstance where you have that retroactive immortality thing, the person who is being killed is the one who gets to decide that.
Yeah.
Right? So when you get dropped back into that game after resisting the murder option, instead of perhaps taking the opportunity to show you the problems of what you describe to be a bad situation for these people, right? Perhaps the degradation that'll occur, anything to show you, by fast forwarding just how much suffering these people are going to be in if you do nothing about it, right? That might get the person who decides, I'm not going to kill anybody, no matter what you tell me, to
overstep their limits there
and start to understand a bit of what they're trying to put on Pink. But that's not what happens. You hit the credits and then you just get put into the normal world. Ostensibly, one could say that, like, well, yeah, the game will just continue existing in its current state, and you can walk away from it with that ending if that's what you wanted. But clearly, that's not where the game is trying to push you to go. So the only thing to do once you resume is to start killing, because you just have to trust that that's the right thing, but you're still stepping over that moral bound in a way. So that is a problem, because now you continue down this pathway believing, like, I guess it'll work out, but I'm just going to take your word for it. And I hope that, at the end, these people who are clearly upset about being killed, like, there might be a layer here that explains an aspect of it. But, if that layer is simply like, yep, we get to the other side and we can see in the end it was worth it. Like, that doesn't change the act of killing the person that doesn't want to be killed in and of that moment, right? It's an absolute like conflict when you don't feel that internal struggle that the game is telling you to feel as you go about killing everybody, and that was the problem. So by the time we get introduced to the idea of Pink, who's like, I haven't been here in the story, but I've been a part of this, and I understand the situation a bit more than you might. So everybody stop, hold on. And then you're like, okay, Pink might be able to like frame this in a way that we can understand. And then Pink can't do that because Pink also doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And everyone is still angry at Pink.
Pink is red because
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then also that calls into question, at least for that moment, the journey you've had with Red in a way. It's like, does that even matter if none of that was actually Red?
was there some kind of like dissociation happening? Like,
Yeah, I mean, if they're calling you the human and you are the puppeteer of, but
separate.
It's yeah, but
separate from Red and separate from Pink.
But when Pink steps in and is now the one responsible for these actions and is the one to take the blame there, you have to call into question whether or not anything Red was doing that you felt at that point mattered, because now it falls on this new person who also thought they were doing the right thing, but now everyone's like, why did you kill us? You did the wrong thing. We hate you, right? So then that naivete is like brought forth because now instead of a silent protagonist, you have Pink who's not silent, who's constantly questioning, why was I killing these people? Was that the right thing? And like Frog is like, yeah, you are doing the right thing and you'll just have to find out why it's the right thing. But that's not good enough.
It's just like, be blind, just do the thing. Like, don't think too much about it.
So yeah, so that's the idea, is like when Pink is the puppeteer in the end, and like that is where all that emotional weight gets transferred, but Pink still doesn't even have the answers. And in the end, you still are, like you're murdering people and it retroactively turns out to be okay. That's not, I don't, that doesn't sit well with me, So that's the thing that I keep coming back to. And, I mean, I know earlier I was like, oh, is this what a serial killer says when they've, killed everybody and they're like wondering like, oh yes, you've cleansed them all. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You know what you had to do. You had to do it. And this was the right thing, burn them all. Right. Yeah. There's this fucked up scene in a documentary that I just watched, where someone that kills a lot of people is like then framing his view on how those victims saw him. And there's a point where where he's saying like, oh, the victims are in heaven going, thank you for killing us. In the end, we're happy that you did that. And it was the right thing to do. And here you go. Here's a medal for you. Thank you for doing that to us. We get to be free in heaven in a way. And it's fucked up because that's a real life thing that is like, it just happens to come to the forefront of my mind. But that type of feeling in this type of confrontation is a weird post hoc justification for the act that you're carrying out, So it's reminding me of that aspect of like post hoc justification for something being considered okay. I don't like that. I don't like when, the wrong thing turns out to happen to be the right thing, but to the victims, they don't get to decide. And that overshadows the helpful message of death is not something to be afraid of. It's okay. And we should be comfortable with it. Right? Yeah.
It's two different messages.
It's not to go out and distribute death to the unwilling. It's the comfort of knowing that it will come, and when it does, it's okay.
And it will be on time, according to the person whose life it belongs,
But it'll be on time for them, or they will decide. You do not decide for me.
Yeah.
I will fight that and die on that hill. Pun intended. I will not ever accept you deciding when it is my time to go. And that is an absolute. So my brain is juggling all of that while absolutely loving the banger soundtrack, the amazing gameplay, and the incredible like sequences that these boss fights bring to you, you know? And if you think that I've gassed myself up and that this is an unfair criticism, then that's fine. You took something different from it. That's okay. After all, I can see that the ending of this game is particularly personal. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out that there was a personal journey that like affected the narrative of this game. It
will affect people differently depending on like who they are
and what you've experienced in life. Right?
Your opinion might fall on deaf ears if somebody doesn't relate to that. Like, no, like sometimes you need to take a decision, but that's different morals, I guess.
Yeah. Again, like in recent life, like I've spoken to like friends about like loved ones that are just like at the gates and refusing, and it's horrible, but that message cannot override an individual's right to decide when it's their time. You can't do that. And you can't then have them go, you decided for me, but in the end, it was the right thing, and thank you for doing that. That's fucked up. That doesn't sit well with me. That's not okay. So until...
What are the odds that you're supposed to feel like it's fucked up?
Now, the other endings might add more to this. There might be extra context. I don't know. But I wanted to wait for this one, certainly.
Yeah.
Because the feeling of all of that, and then you take control of Pink, you go into the cabin, and Frog's like, I'm still not going to tell you why, but don't worry about it. And then you walk out, and then the abyss tries to swallow you. And then I was like, no, we're helping. Helping is killing, after all. And then you embrace it. And then in that moment where it's like, are you sure you want to let it swallow you? And then you go, no. No, you go, yes.
Yes.
And you accept all the yeses, and then for the first time, Pink resists.
I said, no.
The unbelievable hypocrisy of the Deathbringer, who has chosen to believe that this is the good thing to do to people, now deciding to fight against their own death and closing upon them, which is ultimately the message that it brings you. But the timing of that moment was unbelievable, because you were essentially unwilling to accept it for yourself, which must be what everyone who didn't want it to happen was feeling. And when I'm looking through how to navigate each of the characters that have their own feelings about it, there are clearly some who understand and are suffering and want it to end. And I'm not even questioning those ones. The ones who are like, yeah, please, it's a mercy, right? They absolutely are like, done and done. There's no question. You ask for it, you get it, no problem. But the ones who are resisting, that's where I have this point to stick with. I just dumped a whole lot, but I hope that makes sense. I think the emotional journey is fucked because of those things. And
it might be on purpose.
If there was there's either two ways you adjust this journey. You either make it so that there is an ending based on, and you know what? We don't know what else lies out there. So this is without knowing what's coming from the future. But to me, that issue, you would either only kill the ones who want it and leave the ones who want to live alone. Let people determine their fates. And you can be that, you can be the arbiter of that, right? That would be one way. Or the other would be upon the frog ending, and then you restart your save file. Take us on the journey to show us the suffering, so that like I stop seeing these characters as individuals who are, controlling their own lives and doing what they want to do and having their own freedom. And I start seeing them as the puppy that got hit by a car that's sitting by the side of the road and is bleeding out.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you want to bring that forward, if all of these characters are the deer that's been hit by the side of the road that's bleeding out, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, what are we going to do? Just walk away from this? Now that's cruel.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to take us to that point in order for us to understand the empathy that comes from killing at that point. If you don't do that and just say, trust me, it's for the right reasons. I'm not seeing these people as deer hit by cars. I'm seeing them as individuals that are living in this world, but immortality is immortality, but it's not a real concept, but all we can go on is what they say they want to do. You know? I mean, hell, immortality has different implications in different worlds and different settings. In some places, in Souls, it's interesting. Some people are like, no, I love turning immortal. Like, now I can have all the time in the world to study, and I can use it to research, and it's great. And then it's like, yes, but even the message in Souls is that all things come to an end, and that carries across the entire series for that matter. Specifically Dark Souls, mind you, not necessarily the others, but all things come to an end is a message that repeats in that. But even in that same message, there's still a difference between things coming to a natural end and you being the end, and you being the one who decides, and you being the reaper in that situation. You become the end and you bring it to others, and this is your will imposed upon the rest. There's a massive difference between those two things, So, yeah, words.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that because the game is quote unquote not flawed, but because there are all these this makes you feel uncomfortable. I wonder if this was the intended goal from the creators.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so, because the way that the end things plural and the way the just one more thing kept coming back, and it definitely wanted a little bit it wanted a positive feeling that it took every one of those encores, it took a moment to remind you that, hey, we know you suffered and this was hard, but in the end you did the right thing. That was the goal of each one of those stopgaps. It was to be it was rough. You must have been through a lot. You must have struggled, right, to do this not knowing why, but here we're telling you it's for a good reason. I think that's why they took all that time. And it's interesting because doing that implies that it is a difficult thing to put on people, but you're still approaching it thinking that keeping them in the dark as long as you did and just trust me was a good enough motivator, and it's not. And when you're playing a game, you're going to play it through to the end, and even if you get meta and say hey, refund the game now, don't walk down that hallway, etc. It doesn't matter. You're here to enjoy it, and the fucking, like I said, the music, you want to hear the music, you want to see the notes, you want to play the bosses, you want to enjoy and experience all that, and there's fun to be had there, and so you can only take that part of it so seriously, but you have an element of just trust what we say and it'll be fine. And then in the end it was hey, sorry about all that, but hey, it was fine, and you're just throwing those on the back half as we fade out here, and I'm you lost me on the way. And there's if you keep me in on the way, then I'm absolutely down for it at the end. But that's the problem, is your encouraging message about death is quieter than the louder one that is the pillow snuffing out the unwilling. Okay. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that was a good discussion.
I think so.
You brought up some good points, and everybody will see it differently.
Yeah.
I'm just should we talk about our deaths more? Should we make it
I believe so.
Because people are afraid of death.
They are.
Very, very afraid. Should we do Kramer and go see a notary and be if I'm in my body and I can't move and I have my lungs, should we pull the plug? Do you think we should think of all these things? What happens if keep me alive all the time if I don't have control over my body?
Yeah, no. The idea of having that discussion, I think, is important, and that's the positive. Like there
are positive things.
There is benefit to
you
that
can
message
take from this story,
and again, like I'm just hyper projecting forward to the fucking Souls games that have the same message of like death is not so bad. Death is not the end. Is like that depends. That's highly personal. Some people believe it is. Some people believe it isn't. So more so, let's talk about death is not so bad. And that's something that I think is important, and getting used to that concept. Once you can no longer fight it, or rather, once not you can no longer fight it, but once it is inevitable, and you know that it's coming, you will be happier coming to terms with it than I suppose like suffering to the end. There's something noble and cool at the same time about rage against the dying of the light. Like do not go gentle into that good night.
Mm-hmm.
I like those words a lot. They stay with me ever since I read them. And there's something to be said about that. But I think that again, there's a difference between like fighting against what is inevitable, I suppose, and fighting against like something that you had imposed upon you by someone else. Like what was the active force in this particular situation? Was it are you being murdered, or are you talking about a slowly debilitating disease that took time to play out, that ultimately like just roll of the dice, that's what happened. There's a discussion to have there, but I think you're correct in that we should have that conversation more often.
Final question for you: what do you think of how every character in their own way dealt with wanting to live or not wanting to live? For example, like if you look at Gold Pig, I don't think he wanted to die. He wanted to like live and be plentiful and have everything, all the resources. Meanwhile, if you look at like Reese, the girl, I think it was Reese, the girl at the bar, she was like, I'm bored. I'm here. I'm doing things. I guess I'll just get paper and money and gems and do that because that's all that we have to do, right?
I suspect that I'm keeping this open because I want to respond to this message. Yes. I suspect that everybody had their own feelings and then went into the afterlife with those feelings, possibly almost like as a way of referencing or showing you that like we're not all going to be the same. Some of us are going to be thankful, but some of us won't, right? And if I'm not mistaken, some of how you feel about that affects your karma and affects your reincarnation, right? What you're holding on to in life affects what comes next. What you do in this life affects where you go next, right? And I think that like perhaps the characters, especially since there's a literal Buddha, perhaps the characters having their like begrudging things that they're holding on to is representative of the fact that they're going to be going to different places, further away from enlightenment if they're like Gold Pig because they're still holding on to those things.
That's true.
I think that's what they're going for.
That's a good comment, actually. You need to let go to ascend in a way.
If everybody was all on the same page and everyone was like, we get it, thank you, it's awesome, then that means that like, then that wouldn't be accurate to the idea that like some people reject it, So I expect that post hoc justification that we start to see from some of those people is likely based on the idea of like, well, now there's Buddha in the middle of the room and we know that you're about to go somewhere else because the journey doesn't end. So that's my read on it. What did I see earlier? Woolie, Pink didn't want everyone dead. Pink heard of her task and created Red, who tried once and backed out, literally ripping himself apart to protect his friends. Right. So that still is Pink following the task, not knowing fully why, and that still creates a situation where do it just thinking it's the right thing. You'll find out why it's the right thing later. But I don't think whether it be red or pink, that changes the emotional journey of it.
Well, Pink does say that, like, no, I didn't do it. I couldn't have done something this bad. And then they're like, no, you did it. So
you put it on red.
Was it like a dissociation? That's red is doing
that.
it.
My interpretation is that, like, you exactly, the red was a dissociation.
Yeah.
So you put it on red, but red doesn't have a personality, really.
Doesn't talk.
So that's the same as just saying it's another Pink. That Pink gets to feel a little bit less guilty about what they're doing.
Absolutely. That's how I feel. Yeah.
So we end up at the same place. Yeah. Okay. Good talk?
Good talk.
Good talk. All right. So let's see what is in store for those others. Oh, hold on a second. Just someone else, because again, I'm. This is a highly conceptual discussion, so I'm willing to have it. So someone says, and thanks for the support, I think that you had a different expectation of what this game was going for. In context, these people existed for untold millions of years, losing their memories over and over again. I see what you're getting at, but I like moral ambiguity. I like the moral ambiguity involved. Okay, that's valid, but like, in a Memento-like way, if someone loses their memory of sorts and goes through that, like, if someone is a victim, they're a victim, right? There's multiple stories that address this. Memento certainly is one of them. We don't even have to go there. I believe there's an episode of Black Mirror about a person who has who's like being abused, and then once they and then they don't have their memory, and then once their memory is returned, you realize, oh, this is a bad person, But a victim is a victim in that circumstance, and I don't think memory loss is further justification. It certainly presents a discussion point if you want to talk about the karma that comes forward of it. And I mean, God, in the largest peripheral sense, in terms of victims and post hoc justifications, and blame from a distance, the entirety of Attack on Titan can be called into question, right? With like how that same thing is approached. But you have to understand that the moment you're taking somebody who wants to live, and that's the extent of their knowledge, and you say, no, I'm going to kill you, then that's it. I'm not spoiling Attack on Titan, guys. Don't worry about that. The moment you say, I'm going to kill you, you are creating a victim. And that person should be able to have their own rights. They should not be subjected to your will over them. You do not have authority to do that, Am I
a victim or a willing participant?
Yeah.
I remembered somebody said, oh, you hear red speak in the mirror of truth.
Yes.
I rewatched that part.
Yeah.
That was in episode 3.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, when you look in the mirror and red speaks to you, the font isn't pink. So already there's like a bit of...
The font is pink?
The font is pink.
Oh, okay. So
there's a bit of like foreshadowing of what's happening, but you don't know yet.
Okay, well, then I'll tell you straight up.
And then it says like, oh, look at you. What gives you the right to control me? You disgust me. Still in pink font. This wooden cage, I have not always been like this. I divided myself into pieces to protect everyone. Once you leave, I have to deal with everything. I hate you for it. I wish we would just stop. I want you to leave. I don't want to talk to you again. That's what happens in the mirror.
Okay, well, then that's underlined. Pink is talking to themselves.
Yeah, I think so.
Pink is straight up talking to themselves and dividing the responsibility and putting it over there.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Hopsam, how you doing? What do you think about the ghosts being victims too, not able to reincarnate? I mean, if we're talking about the lost souls, I feel as if the other endings might give us a bit more insight into that, but them being stuck, like, is the implication perhaps that, like, those who are supposed to reincarnate that have, like, been killed, but the world has not restarted yet, so they're stuck waiting until that point in time? I'm not sure. I haven't been given enough information about those lost souls, except for we can see the characters, the mages, turning into them from time to time, as they, usually towards the end. So I need more information on that aspect. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I'm satisfied with that.
I think it's good. Yeah.
Okay. So then, with that all being said, shall we attempt the big one?
So that's a big test.
It's a big test.